Easy now. Papa got things making hands like
come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't want to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they ain't finna change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Yeah, you plenty of
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by The Athletic. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael-Shawn and I'm here with my co-host, Christopher Kidd. Make sure you follow us both up on the tweet machine. You guys know where to follow me, so I'll just continue to shout out the YouTube channel. That's Seahawks Man-to-Man on YouTube, the number 2 man. And shout out to all our subscribers as well. Chris, talk to him.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Christopher Kidd. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206, and that's CKid206.
All right, we are coming to you with another post-game episode of the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. We are recording after the Seahawks lost their second straight game, falling 27-23 to the Atlanta Falcons. Geno Smith interception on 4th and 18, basically sealing the game. And Chris, I think no one will really disagree with if I make this general statement. The Seahawks are not a good football team. I don't necessarily think that's a surprise to many people. But I say that not just that, they're not a good team. I can explain why, and we probably will spend most of the podcast doing so. But like outside of Geno completing a lot of passes and throwing accurate passes, which is a big part of his job, man, they're pretty much bad they're either mediocre or bad at pretty much every offensive and defensive facet of the game. I'm ignoring special teams for this discussion. They're pretty much bad at mediocre or bad at everything except for completing passes, at a high level. Other than that, I got nothing for you on this team through 3 games.
Yeah, it's kind of what we forecasted with this team. Just a lot of tough losses, a lot of chances where they had opportunities to win the game. They were literally, I don't know how this worked out for them, but they were hand-given a fumble. It was on a platter. Hey, here you go. You have a chance to win the game. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh man, they could, because I really thought the Falcons were going to go down and score another touchdown and make it 34-23, and that would be a ball game right there. That's what I thought, because the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed on Sunday against the Falcons. That was my initial thoughts. So when they fumbled, I was like, oh, all right, Geno, prove myself, you, others wrong, and show that you can be the guy that wins you games starting against the Falcons. And then maybe that belief is now showcased, and now you can show your teammates that, yeah, I can. When we get turnovers, I got you guys. We're going to put points on the board. We're going to take this lead, and now hopefully the defense can step up. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and it was a tough watch. There, as you said, there wasn't much that was impressive. I wasn't thinking, dang, this team, the Falcons did whatever they wanted to for the most part in the offense. That RPO, they was killing the Seahawks with that. They had linebackers coming up. The first play of the game, we talked about it off wax. The first play of the game for the Falcons on their offense, their first offensive possession was actually a play action pass, but Kyle Pitts was wide open, and you were saying, yeah, Quandre Diggs probably bit on that and dropped down into the box, leaving Kyle Pitts one-on-one with Mike Jackson. And if Mario doesn't overthrow him, it's a quick 6-0 lead 15, 20 seconds into the game. And that would have been just, damn, the Falcons are really, they got some weapons, and they use those weapons, and they're attacking the Seahawks. And that would have been just a nice little gut punch to start the game. But ultimately that didn't happen. I mean, Atlanta still goes down and scores, but Sunday, just watching this team, as you mentioned, they're just not a good football team. And the little tiny things, the penalties, just the small things can really interrupt the entire flow, and it can cost you a game, as we all witnessed on Sunday against the Falcons.
Yeah, the closing games thing is something that was pretty easy to predict, even if you had a optimistic view of the season. And people were asking me about Geno all offseason. You know, I went back and watched Geno's games against the Rams, although that was plays a quarter. You know, if the guy breaks his finger, it kind of is what it is. But I watched that, watched the Steelers game last year, watched the Saints game last year, watched the Jags game last year, and then you know, go watch. I actually watched 2013 and 2014 footage of him with the Jets, just to, you know, get a feel for where he's grown. And then I, you know, obviously watch all the preseason stuff. And I kind of came to the conclusion, and I shared this with people, it's not no secret. Geno Smith clearly is a quarterback who can keep you in a game. Like, he probably won't be the reason you guys are out there getting cooked. Yeah, like on offense. Even in the games where they haven't looked good on offense, I haven't really watched him be like, whew, boy, they need to do something about 7. You know, like he's been fine, not outstanding, not like super bad. Like, he's still completing passes, you know, at a pretty high level, and not a pretty high level, at the highest level in the league. He's actually leading the league in completion percentage at 77.5%, which is pretty nuts if that holds. You know, he came into the league leading there and came into the week leading in that category, and they'll leave the same way. That is pretty impressive, because it's not like he's only dinking and dunking.
Yeah,
you know, you get he's throwing some contested, you know, passes here, some tight window stuff underneath.
Do some today or Sunday, excuse me.
He had one in the back end zone, the DK, 2 of his end zone shots, the one DK catches in the back end zone shot that DK doesn't get his foot down. Those are some tough throws. He had some over the middle as well. That got tipped and stuff that were like dangerous. Not to say those are excellent passes, but an example that he ain't just checked down Charlie the whole time. Now he is a little bit, to some extent, relative to his peers. Yeah, I think in air yards per attempt, which basically means how far you are throwing it relative to what the line of scrimmage is. I think Geno's like 20th of 33 qualifying quarterbacks. So like, he's not airing it out either, but like, he's doing that at a decent level. But if the common theme in all of those games that I just rattled off, whether it's this game or even the Broncos game, or even some of the preseason games, even though we're not talking about how those closed, last year's games as well. Sometimes you just need your quarterback to overcome some shit. Like, you just need him to be like, hey man, someone might run the route wrong, a protection might get blown, a lineman might get beat, but can you overcome that? Can you be Superman right fast? And asking a quarterback to do that every game is ridiculous. And I think we're going to see some issues with that with teams like the Chargers. We've already seen it with the Chiefs in some instances, particularly in the Super Bowl loss that they've had. The Bills even run into that problem a little bit because they can't run the ball with the damn. So like, yeah, asking your quarterback to be Superman every week is absurd. But there are, in some close games, hey man, it might be 3rd and 11, bro. Can you make a play? You know, hey man, your right tackle got beat. Can you spin out of that and keep your eyes downfield and make the play or run or whatever? Like, you have to. Sometimes it takes a little bit of excellence. You know, before me and Chris recorded just now, I was watching the end of the Sunday night game, and I could hear Chris Collinsworth a little bit asking that of Russell Wilson. You know, because their offense apparently looked like cheeks. You know, for most of the game I didn't watch, but they had 5 points when I tuned in, so I could figure out that it clearly wasn't great. And Chris Collinsworth is imploring Russell Wilson, like, hey, you're a $50 million man. Can you do something when stuff isn't going your way? And he did. Russ scrambled a few times, made some plays. What do you know? His team gets a touchdown, ends up winning the game. That, not to just directly compare it to Russ, but yes, that's what you need sometimes. Sometimes, no matter what you make, $3 million or $33 million, sometimes the game's going to be on the line. Things are not going to go your way, you know, with the exception of a dropped pass. Can your quarterback make some shit shake? And not everybody's built to do that, because we see that every week. You know, it's the slim difference too. It's the difference between, like, there's guys who probably won't be the reason you win, like a Kirk Cousins, like high level, just do stuff, you know, and when it comes to be like excellent, he's like, eh. Then there's guys who are, you know, they'll be excellent. Mahomes, even what we've seen from Josh Allen, Brady, Rodgers. Obviously, then we'll see guys who are like on the bottom end of that, like be the reason that their team gets butt whooped. Carson Wentz has done that. He's the one that comes to mind of like the recent guys. But there's tons of dudes out there who are the reason their teams lose. Geno's just right there in the middle, and the middle is fine for 55 minutes. Yeah. 56, 54, 55, 54 minutes or whatever. And that's great, because that's the majority of the game. But the margins matter when you talk about wins and losses. Not to say this game is his fault, but I think when you combine this particular game against Atlanta with some of the other games in the Geno Smith-led sample, you see a common theme. He plays fine. Something doesn't go well. They lose.
I'm just sorry. I
Bad.
got you gotta be a little harsh, man. They were gifted a fumble, Mike. You gotta do something.
Yeah, that happens though. That happens in the NFL. Sometimes the team coughs it up.
Yes, and you know what happens? If the quarterback, the quarterbacks you just named, Kirk Cousins, I honestly think he'll go down and get you a touchdown.
Oh, I don't believe
you don't.
that.
You don't think he'll go down and get you a touchdown?
Nah, man. You know why I don't believe that? A, I don't think the numbers back that up. But B, if that was the case, he wouldn't have such a bad record in prime time. Like that dude.
Well, the good news is
every time they play on Monday night, that's somebody who's not clutch.
To be fair, he did lead a comeback today against the Lions. I know it was bad, not the greatest team, but he did do it today.
Oh, he did. He
did. So that's. I just thought. In my head, I saw what was probably going to happen, but I was hoping he would prove me wrong. And
they're going to start killing you for using the Vikings for all your examples, man, because that looked terrible last week where you kept using the Vikings. They got their ass kicked on Monday.
Yeah, that was bad. But the biggest thing was it's how I want the Seahawks to attack and use their weapons. And I thought they did that today, which we talked about, and how Ty Lockett and DK were involved. We saw DK getting the rock thrown to him. That's all I want. I know the Vikings did get blown out, but they still want to target their best players, even in blowouts. It's not as consistent as it needs to be, but I think that was my main point is, hey, you got two elite wide receivers. Running game ain't working. Just start throwing the ball to him. I swear Tyler Lockett probably leads the league in out routes. My man caught, I want to say 7 out routes, and I think 5 were play action. And I'm thinking the Falcons, do they not know what's coming? But I get it. They didn't want to get beat deep. The explosive plays that the Seahawks had versus what the Atlanta Falcons had, that just tipped the whole entire scale. Okay. I think the Seahawks, if I wrote it down quickly, they had 3 or 4. Falcons had a lot. I felt every time. Yeah.
I have the number on. Would you like the number on that?
Yes. Give me the number on that. I don't have my iPad near me.
I have what the Falcons had. I don't have what the Seahawks had.
Okay.
Explosive runs by the Falcons. There were 4. That's a run of 12 or more yards. That they were all by Cordell Patterson. He had a career high today of 141 yards.
Hey, if you want to have a career high, play against the Seahawks defense, ladies and gentlemen.
At least on the ground. Mariota didn't throw for a bunch, but Mariota to this week, I think, leads the league in yards per attempt at 11 point something. So that's not good. But I think Cordell Patterson had 4 runs of 12 or more yards, and Mariota completed 7 passes of 16 or more yards. So that's 11.
My math is way off. Okay.
Explosives. Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. That's what I'm here for, right? To bring the statistics in there. Yeah. So the explosives, the Seahawks had some explosive plays as well, to be fair.
Oh, yeah, they did.
It's tough because on offense, here's the other thing with the Seahawks offense. Who was I talking to today? It was Rashad Penny. I was talking to him after the game. He was just he was shaking his head. He just kind of befuddled. He was like,
how are you confused, man?
not even confused. Let me make sure I'm using befuddlement right.
No, you are, but it's
befuddled definition. Unable to think clearly, confused or perplexed. So yeah, you're right. Confused. Because he was just he's like, man, we should be dominating these teams. We have too many weapons, too many guys. And I was like, usually when guys say that, it's like, well, of course, everyone thinks their teammates are good. But I was looking like, he not wrong.
Well, Mike, they put up 23 points. They kind of did what they needed to do. They just can't do what's on the bottom of the screen here. Can't close. That's what it comes down to. These mofos were gifted an opportunity to win the game. They just didn't do it. Well, that's really what go ahead.
Here's on top of that, because you're not wrong on the closing games. Obviously, we agree on that. But I think to take it a step further, why they have to close them is because another thing that Rashad said is that he said we're making it too difficult. We're making it too easy on the defense. And I needed to ask what he meant more on that. I promised him I only ask him one question because he was on his way out. But another issue for the Seahawks is that when teams are playing off of them, it requires them to make have very long drives with very few explosives. And when you do that, you have to do a lot right in a row. Like look at some of the lengths of even the drives that they scored on, right? Their first drive, it took 11 plays. That's a long drive to
Yeah,
sustain
teams are playing
without
off.
mistakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and look at their field goal drive to end the first half. That was 12 plays. Their next scoring drive, which is another field goal, that was 13 plays. That's a lot of plays to just be right all the time. And it's just what's the word I want to use? It's unrealistic to expect a team to consistently sustain long drives like that and be right all the time. That means everybody goes the same way. Protections are always right. All the routes are right. All the throws are on target. Every throw is caught. No penalties for 10 plus plays every drive. That's why, that's where someone like Russell was so dynamic because it's like, shit, we might score in 4 plays because I'm gonna hit DK for a bomb. And there's not a lot of that in this offense, which is why Geno can have such a high completion percentage. And even today, his yards per attempt, I think, is fine. What he threw it 44 times and for 325 yards. So I think he was fine today. But the reason that they can move the ball well and then not score it and then lament, meaning they just complain about all the little things that didn't go right, execution staying on schedule. The reason that happens is like you're asking a lot. You're asking, hey, go have an 11-yard drive and then another one and then another one and then another one with no blown assignments, no protection issues. The other team's got NFL players too. And while it's good to be able to sustain drives, like eventually you need some kill shots. You need some kill shots in there, and they're getting a few, but clearly not enough because the minute that I'll say this: the reason you need those kill shots is to overcome the adversity that happens. It's if you get a 23-yard pass play, well, then you can overcome a holding call on second down. If you get a missed assignment or Kenneth Walker goes the wrong way on a run play, again, by the way, he's got to stop. You got to stop doing that. If he goes the wrong way, I think that drive, what happened on that drive? They ended up punting. I think those kill shots help you overcome that type of stuff. What did the Falcons have today? What, 3rd and 19? In the first half.
That was egregious.
They overcome it though because those kill shots can do that. So I get why it feels like almost an overcorrection from last year. Because remember last year they couldn't sustain drives worth a damn. They were either scoring in 3 plays or punting in 3 plays. There was no middle. Now they're extremely in the middle of like these long ass drives to only get 3 points. If you have the ball for 13 plays, you should score a touchdown. 12 plays, you should score a touchdown. Unless you're going like 99 yards. So I think the fact that they have to basically dink and dunk and grind their way up and down the field, it's hard to do that and expect everything to go right, especially when you have a relatively, young team, young linemen, young running backs, not totally young pass catchers, but some guys who are a few dudes still on rookie deals. Like that's tough to ask. And then ask your quarterback to also just be fine. That's a bad recipe. And it's really bad recipe against good teams. It can be almost embarrassing against, a team like the Falcons that I think will probably have like a top 5 pick this year. I don't think the Falcons are good at all. And the Falcons looked like legitimate
world beaters.
Yeah, they look good today. Mariota looked good today.
Bro, I watched them do the RPO, I'm thinking, good. Is he in the case run for MVP? He was making all the throws on the money. Guys were running across the field open. Mike, they converted on 3rd and 19. When I saw that, I said, damn, bro, how are your linebackers not getting depth? It's 3rd and 19. All you got to do is rally and tackle. I know this. The Falcons are probably thinking like, damn, they left this wide open. Mariota put it on the money. I'm thinking, yo, where's my linebackers at? You guys should be getting hands on. This should be an interception. There should be to be honest, I'm even shocked that the Falcons even went out there and tried to convert it. Because you know what teams usually do? They respect a good defense. They say, damn, it's 3rd and 19. We got to throw a quick screen or a handoff. You know what the Falcons said? Nah, what we're going to do is we're going to do a deep out. We're going to have a guy do a curl. We're going to bank on maybe the linebacker sitting on that curl, and we'll have the deep out wide open because the corner also didn't drop deep enough. And you know what happened, Mike? what's his name? Zacharias.
I don't even want to try that, brothers. I was looking at it when I was typing it. I was like, ooh, I butchered this guy's name. Hopefully he don't do nothing during the game. And he did.
Oh, he had a couple of big plays. He had a crossing pattern across the field where I think Tariq was late on the coverage. He was late on it because he completed it, but he was late on it. Tried to use the speed to catch up on the money throw for the most part.
That was a really good throw, by the way. That was a really good throw.
So yeah, when I'm watching the game, I'm thinking, damn, is Mariota that good or the Seahawks defense that bad? And after we've be off wax, obviously, and a little bit on the show, we talked about just how bad this defense has been. I think you talked to Quandra a little bit after the game. Didn't he kind of tell you exactly what happened?
Yeah. Well, Quandre just said they did everything. He said they threw it on us. They ran it on us. He said they came out and kicked our tail, which they did. And I think, whereas in the past, I would say 2020 and 2021 for the Seahawks, I think that I had a feeling they could turn some things around because they were blowing a lot of coverages. And especially in 2020, I was like, oh man, they're just blowing stuff every week. And then 2021, I felt like if they needed to get the reality is they needed to get Trey Flowers out of there. You know, like they had a problem at corner and they needed to address that. They addressed that, addressed their third down defense by putting Ryan Neal on the field in place of Jordan Brooks. And it gave them, some advantages. Like I felt like there was a way for it to turn around. Even in 2020 in particular, I had a feeling when they got Jamal Adams back, they'd be fine. But also I knew Carlos Dunlap coming in would help too. So I was like, okay. Currently, I don't see those same kind of reasons to believe a switch will be flipped, in part because I don't really know who's going to come in and change things. I know some people wanted Ryan Neal to play for Josh Jones. That might help because Josh has ended up on the wrong side of some plays.
There's a play today that stands out. He didn't fill the hole on Cordell Patterson run. Yes, usually Jamal will be there either to hopefully make a tackle or try to make him bounce it outside so they can wrap him up. Josh was late, touchdown.
Yeah. Well, the rushing touchdown, I gotta watch it again because it looks like Cody just goes the wrong way.
And maybe that is too, but you need your last guy, your safety, to fill that hole.
Yeah,
he has to be there.
Yeah, he had a couple. Josh has ended up on the wrong side of a couple plays today.
That's just one that stood out, but yeah,
got out jumped by Kyle Pitts.
That was unfair.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, Kyle Pitts was drafted 4th overall. He's going to make some plays like that. Kind of is what it is. But the missing the tackle on the Drake London play for the touchdown, where Jordan blitzes, Josh is supposed to fill. He fills it, whiffs, touchdown. Like it's just. I get the desire to see Ryan, and as much as I think Ryan's a good player, a really good player actually, I don't think that's going to save all their issues. I think they've got some bigger issues there. I think that they're just getting out schemed and out executed in the run game. The run stuff is pretty bad. Like it's legitimately bad. Like last week, I was like, well, they couldn't tackle worth a damn. So I mean, you can fix some tackling, right? Especially, third weekend, guys who didn't play in the preseason. All right, you warmed up now, you get it. All right, you good. No, it's still not there. And also, and then today, I'm not even sure a lot of the guys were missing tackles. It was just like, man, there's a bunch of open holes.
Exactly.
No linebackers at the second level. Like it's pretty discouraging. And today was really discouraging because like it isn't because they were out-gapped in the run game. And by out-gapped, I mean like so when you play a too high look, you're taking one of the safeties out of the box. So that means you usually have a numbers disadvantage up front. Well, that wasn't even really the problem. Today, the Falcons faced an 8-man box on 45% of their runs, which is pretty high. That's a really, really high number. And to do that and still rush for 179 yards or whatever it was, that means they were just better than you.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to stop. Again, they had 4 plays of 12 or more yards on the ground. And it wasn't like it was some Mariota scrambles. Cordell had a 40-yarder, 2 18-yarders, the 17-yard touchdown. And he's good, but he ain't Barry Sanders, like to get cooked like that is pretty disappointing. The pass defense, I anticipated this though. That part, the running defense, I was a little surprised. Pass defense, though, there's gonna be moments because they don't have studs. They have some solidly good players. Like Tariq's been fine, but then he does stuff like him and Kobe Bryant didn't sync on that 3rd and 19 you're talking about. They're like Pete said after the game, they played it like it was 3rd and 5. I was like, it's 3rd and 19.
Do you guys not know?
Sticks. Drop to the sticks. That's kind of. I mean, we do that when we play flag football on Saturday.
Yeah, I say, hey, y'all, back up. If they drop it short, what do we gotta do? Pull flags. Same in the NFL. Drop back. Just make a tackle.
Same issue. So you have a play like that. I like Michael Jackson as a corner. I think he's actually pretty solid. But like he told me after the game, he's like, I can't give up any deep balls. Like I don't care who it is, I just can't get beat like that. He gave up a 30-yarder. And like you said, he was a more on-target ball away from giving up a touchdown on literally the first play of the game. And he knows he can't do that. But that's the reality you're going to have. Even Jalen Ramsey gives up plays. AJ Terrell's been beat before. It happens, but
they make a play later. They do something big. They do something special. Those are your stars. Sorry to cut you off, but they make extraordinary plays. They might get beat once, but you know what they do? They find a way to make a big play later on in the game. And unfortunately, the Seahawks don't have enough guys that can do that. We still haven't seen that from Quandre Diggs. Although he did have an opportunity against Denver, he didn't make the play for an interception. And we're waiting for Quandre to make that play. But continue, Mike. Try to cut you off.
No, that's fair too. I think the other issue is not even that they don't make a play. It's just that you have to do something to counter those moments, right? Like, okay, cool. Mike Jack get beat on a 30-yarder by Drake London. All right, well, now on this drive, like I was mentioning with kill shots early on offense, you can get kill shots on defense. They are not generating a lot of negative plays on defense. They had 3 sacks today, which is actually pretty decent. But they're not generating enough of them to counteract some of the big plays that they're giving up. So it's imbalanced. Like I said, they give up 11 explosives. Then to realistically balance that out, you need some negative plays in the passing game. I think they had one pass breakup that was from Michael Jackson. Credit to him, that saved a touchdown
on Drake London. Yeah.
So he got a PBU, got beat for a deep ball that kind of evens out. But then the interception was kind of just nothing. They weren't going to score on that play.
Yeah.
Anyway, and getting that interception kind of didn't help the offense at all because it just went to halftime. So it was like almost like a bad punt. It was nothing. So if you're going to give up 11 explosives, then you need at least to match that number or get half of that back, with something, whether it's having one of your D linemen draw a holding play on one of their offensive linemen, which I think only happened once, getting some pass breakups again, which they only had 1. You need more sacks. They only had 3. I don't think they had any tackles for loss on any of Atlanta's run plays. Come on, man. What are we? You can't do that. You need impact players to do that. And I know that a lot of people, and this was anticipated as well. I know a lot of people were like, Mike, Chris, our defense is young, it's hungry, it's faster. I agree with all of those things. And I did all offseason. None of those adjectives mean better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That just means you are faster. That means you run a faster 40 than the guy that you were replacing from last year's team. That's great.
That's what people argue with. Why would we keep Bobby Wagner? He's slower. It's like, that's not.
Or he's lost a step. That was the thing.
That's not what it's about, man. He knows the game. He can lose a step all he want. I would love to have Bobby Wagner right now playing defense and trying to help these young guys, but that's not the case. And you're seeing what that looks like. Yeah, all the speed in the world. But when the Falcons come to town, they over here just destroying you on the run. Marcus Mariota looks like the second coming of Joe Montana, and they come out of here with the victory, and the Seahawks are now 1-2. And they're about to face a Detroit Lions team that can't close games either. So you know what? Someone's going to close a game on Sunday next week.
Yeah, or this is definitely possible. No one does, and they tie.
Bruh, why would you say that?
Well, because the Lions had a game like that last year, I believe, against the Steelers, where I watched the end of it in a press box somewhere because I think I was on the road or something. Legitimately, neither team looked like they wanted to win. And I think it ended up in a tie, I think, with the Steelers or something like that. I have to check the record on that. Yeah, the defense is legitimately concerning, and I don't see like obvious answers because like unlike the years past, I don't see like an obvious personnel change coming. Like there's no one coming back to the lineup that I think would make a huge impact in that regard. I don't really see I don't see an obvious trade thing, but I haven't really looked, so I'd have to give me a little bit more time on that. And they're not blowing like a blown coverage is pretty easy to fix. Do the job, And today I don't think they had any blown coverages and still gave up 7 explosives. That's problematic. That means that either the other team is beating you, or that's actually just really what that means.
Pretty straightforward.
Most of the time, yeah. So like I'm pretty concerned about the defense because I can't really pick obvious answers like I could last year. Like, oh, so and so is going to come back. Oh, they just need to fix this coverage or stop running this or maybe blitz a little bit more or whatever. There was just or blitz less, whatever.
Oh, you saw what happened when they blitzed today. Quandre was, or I think it was Josh. Josh Jones was way too far off. When they blitzed on the left side, it was, I think, 2nd and goal maybe. And they sent a safety blitz off the left side. Defense is right. Drake London catches it. Quandre tries to wrap him up. Touchdown.
Oh, no, that's Josh. That's Josh.
Okay, so yeah. So Josh was just way too far off. And if they're blitzing Josh, you got to be up more, bro. Know where the end zone is. Know where the area is. And that comes with some of these young guys being in a big situation like that, not understanding the situation and playing way too far off, knowing that they need to score here.
Well, I think where he was playing was fine because like he meets a Drake right at the line to gain. Like,
well, then you didn't make the tackle then.
Yeah, I think that's more of us. I think his depth is fine there. I just think you gotta make the tackle, and it's unfortunate that he missed the tackle to the outside because if he misses it, but Drake has to go inside, Quandre's right there to help. Instead, he goes outside, so Quandre doesn't have the angle to come help. But yeah, you just gotta tackle, and I think it's a lot of things like that. The other guys just making plays, and that is very concerning because that's everybody after their games always says we can clean that up. Because of course I would say that too. That's real. That's the real answer. But legitimately, from an objective observer who then watches other teams and other defenses, during the week or on national TV or whatever, I see execution. I see teams making it hard on the opposing offenses. If nothing else, I'm not seeing Seattle defense make it hard on the opposition. Like even with the Denver game, Denver made that hard on itself. With just getting into the red zone and pooping its pants. San Francisco didn't make them anything hard on itself, which is why they were moving the ball on the ground with ease, even with their quote-unquote backup quarterback. Today, the Falcons didn't make it really hard on themselves, other than that fumble you mentioned that was a gift. So I don't really know where the big change comes. You almost just got to –
Darryl Taylor needs to make some plays.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to allude to, not specifically with DT, but just your only hope then is you just expect the guys who are playing to play better, which, to be fair, is not out of the realm of possibility. Darryl can easily play better. I think the run fits can be, much, much better. I just think these guys are not on the same page in the run game. I think particularly at the second level, they're just not there. I think some of the young players that are playing are probably going to be better just naturally, like Kobe, Tariq.
Had a sack today. Had a sack Sunday. Good for him.
Yeah, Kobe got a sack. Tariq did have the pick, even though it wasn't super consequential. Brian Monet still a relatively young-ish player. Miles Adams got some serious burn. For the first time this season. So you're gonna see some guys naturally play better, I'm sure. Shelby Harris will come back. That'll maybe help a little bit. Some guys will get better. I expect actually most of the guys in the defensive lineup to get better before they get worse. I think Uchenna's gonna, get better. This is Cody's first time really with an extended role as a starter. You can expect some guys to get better. I think that's legitimate. How much better though, and how long will it take? Those are two questions I don't think anybody has the answer for. I don't think Pete has the answer for that. He's optimistic, so he'll say, yeah, everybody will be all pro by January, of course, but that's not real. And the other question is, how long does it take? How long does it take some of these guys to develop into what their potential is? If it takes too damn long, are they 2-7, 1-6 or something like that? Who knows? And if it doesn't turn around, then are they replaced by other guys? And if you replace them by other guys, are there chemistry issues at that point? Then it becomes a whole new thing. And then if guys still aren't playing to their potential, do they stay together as a team? They get to cussing each other out. infighting. I don't think that'll happen, but who knows? I ain't seen that many losses in a row yet. Who knows? There's a lot more questions, and I wrote this today too. There's a lot more questions than there is obvious answers, and that's usually a sign that it's time to panic. Like we can panic. Those guys ain't panicking, but yeah, Chris, I'm not really seeing a lot of like legitimate reasons for optimism other than let's hope that some guys who are playing not good start playing better.
Yeah, that's a start. Real quickly before we move to Twitter questions, did you see the video I sent regarding Pete Carroll and his comments at the end of the game regarding how the team played?
I didn't get a chance to watch the video you sent specifically, but I watched the whole press conference on my drive home, or I listened to it, because I drive safely. I listened to it.
What are your thoughts on that? Did I miss something there? Because he basically said, I thought we played a good game. And I'm thinking, I don't know if you guys played a good game. I mean, it was exciting. But maybe that's him just trying to rah the guys up and stating that we were in it and had a chance to win it. And maybe that's what he was going with. Because to say that it was a good game, I think is, no, Pete, that was not a good game. That was...
I know he said there was some positives and
absolutely, obviously, maybe.
And there was some good back and forth. These are some of the words he used. I don't have like the transcript. Actually, I do. I'm not gonna pull it up. It's in my email. But the thing that I think Pete saw, and it's part of this is me knowing how Pete is wired. Part of the way Pete is wired is to, as a coach, one of his ways of measuring, a successful game. Obviously, you win, right? Pete's not stupid. He wants to win. Like, let me throw that out for a second. The other way is to measure is like, hey, did my team have a chance to win it late? Like in the fourth quarter, did we have a chance? You'll hear Pete say that sometimes on a press conference when they don't have a chance. He'll be like, yeah, we didn't give ourselves a chance today. We didn't give ourselves a chance today. Like now that I'm saying that phrase to you, watch how many times Pete says it in games where they lose by more than one score. Says it pretty much every time. It's like clockwork. So I can see why after this game, he says, like there was some positives. You saw us get better today. It was a good game, good back and forth, because for a coach, you just want to have your team have a chance to win the game in the fourth, which goes to that speech that he always gives. Can you win the game in the third quarter? Blah, blah, blah. That's rooted in a belief that one way to measure how good a coach is doing is like, all right, did your team have a chance when it was all said and done? The answer today was yes. They did. They had the ball with 2 minutes left, down 4, and on the other side of the 40-yard line. The answer is yes. They just didn't. For reasons that were specific to this game and that are part of bigger trends. They had some things that happened today that probably won't happen again. And they had some things that happened today that we've seen for going all the way back to Geno's, first start last year against Pittsburgh. So I think that's what Pete was kind of alluding to when he kind of has some optimistic sounding sound bites after the game. Like, yeah, he even said it like, you guys saw us get better today, but it wasn't enough to win, and that's all that matters. So as long as he knows that sentiment is the case, then I think, they'll be fine.
Got it. All right. You ready for Twitter questions, man?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. We got quite a few, so let's get right to it. Our first one comes from Excessive Farce. He has 2. The first one is locker room leaders. Who are they these days? Who has the credibility to stand up after Sunday's game and call folks out? And then part 2, this is what, the 4th or 5th year where the defense starts the season looking putrid. At what point does the heat under Carroll start rising?
To the first part of that, the leaders are the guys you would think. I think it's a mystery. Will Dissly's one, Quandre Diggs, Tyler Lockett. I don't really know as much about the O-line, kind of who the voices matter there. But Geno's one as well. Big Al's one. I don't think it's because these guys can just go scream at everybody like, hey, get your shit together, clown. I don't think that's the way that, every guy leads. Some of it's by example. Some of it's just by doing right, consistently. And I think that last part is what's important here. You can't call nobody out on nothing if you ain't playing well. Nobody wants to hear that. The natural reaction will be, but what about you? If you say, hey, man, you need to be in your gap. And if you can turn around and say, well, okay, I'm being my gap. Are you going to make the tackle? Then that's where you're lacking accountability as a team at that point. That's when things tend to spiral. Bad teams have that happen quite a bit. So I think the leaders are clearly defined. Nick Bellore too, particularly on special teams. The leaders are they got leaders, but when everyone's not playing well, then you got some issues. Quandre's one of the defensive leaders, but it's not like he's perfect on every play. Big Al's one of the defensive leaders. It's not like he's perfect on every play. Puna, Jordan Brooks, like it's not even about as much who's the leaders. It's like who's in a position where they can hold guys accountable because they're doing right, and they're lacking on that part, particularly on defense, because not a lot of people are playing great. So that's an issue. As far as the defense starting slow again, I think it's been a few different things each year. The main thing is staying on the field for a very long time and not having a pass rush and not generating turnovers. Those three things are pretty consistent. And as far as when it's like, when does Pete get called out for it? I don't know. Probably never, because he can always use a defensive coordinator as a scapegoat, to be honest, if he would like to. And so, I mean, he's fired 2 defensive coordinators in the span of 5 years or whatever. So like, he clearly has an out. But if you had a problem with it before with Pete, that's not going to change, So I don't know what, if put it this way, not if you had a problem as a watcher. If Jody didn't have a problem with it, in 2019 or 2020 or 2021 or whatever, it's probably not going to change now. I agree that it's a concern, but I don't think it's to the concern we're like, all right, we're going to fire Pete in October because our defense keeps starting slow. I think there would have to be bigger, more glaring. I say more glaring because the issues are pretty glaring. I think the shit would have to hit the fan at a much higher level than it is right now. Not losing by 4 to the Falcons. I think it would have to be like get blown out the next 2 games. Then it's like, oh, okay, something's wrong, and it starts at the top.
This one's from Zach at ZJabel. I think that's right. Either way, I gave it a shot. Shout out to Zach. Are there any vets you could see the Seahawks trading if they don't start winning some games?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't think so, man, because when you do that, it's just so hard to sell that you're winning. You're trying to win, excuse me. And I know that there are still a dysfunctional part of the fan base that's like, let's just keep losing. Let's up that draft pick. And I've talked to me and Chris have talked a million times about why that strategy dehumanizes the players to an extent, man. These guys just can't go out there and believe in an organization that's actively trying to lose. That's how you get people killed out there, man. Like, that's bad. That's bad. You just cannot do that. That's how you get a really, really, really ugly product. So, and you just get guys hurt, man. That's just not what's up. So that won't happen. Man, how do I want to put this? Reread me that again so I can get it right.
Vets that you could see the Seahawks trading if they don't start winning some games.
Yeah, that only way I can see that if guys axed out. That's it. I don't think you can't move a Quandre. You could move like Jordan, Big Al, Puna. Like, you can do some of that stuff, but that's not going. You're down the drain. You can move Josh Jones, but like, I feel like that would only happen if guys axed out. Because if it looks like the organization's not doing everything it can to cultivate a winning culture, you're screwed. Then it's just gonna get real ugly. I'm talking coaches getting pissed, players getting pissed, executives getting pissed. Then it's just a whole shit show down the drain. And I'm telling you, that's not what you want. That's really not. That's not how you build towards the future. It's not.
This is from Young Slick X. Time to be worried about the rush defense.
Yeah. I think they're not playing the greatest rushing offenses in the world. Like, the Niners they're committed to it, but it's not like they're world beaters at running the ball. They're just really committed to it and known for it, in part because their quarterbacks haven't been very
Quick
good.
question for you, Mike. Who is the best run team coming in? I think we play them next Sunday, don't we? Don't the Seahawks play them next Sunday?
The Lions are one of the best run teams in the league. The Lions and the Browns are 2 of the best. The Eagles are also very good. So those are like the best run teams. And the Seahawks aren't playing the best of the best, and they're still getting beat. And it's not like it's the same problem every week. It's a different one. Like, they're not tackling one week, and then another week they're just not in position. Or it doesn't look like guys are on the same page. One week, it's a lot of stuff, man. And it's not even the same types of runs too. There's some consistency there. Like, Some teams are going outside on them, making their corners have to tackle, make sure their outside linebackers have to make some plays. Some teams are making sure that the inside linebackers have to get off blocks. Some teams are just running right at them. I think the Niners ran just some stuff like right up the gut on them. So it's really bad, and yeah, I don't see a simple solution there. So I would be very concerned with that, because I don't see a simple fix with the run defense, and it's not getting worse, but it can get worse, against Detroit. Although it looks like the Saints suck at running the ball, so who knows? Maybe it gets fixed in week 5 as opposed to week 4 against the Lions.
This is from Paul Martin at P. Martin, Katy, Texas. Can they go back to playing a 4-3? Would that help?
The answer to going back to it, no. Well, you can do that. I probably would not suggest a midseason switch to that. They're already kind of playing with 4 down linemen, as you guys have probably noticed. It isn't a lot of 3-4 action. You probably saw a lot of stuff today where it was Al Woods and Puna, and then like Daryl Johnson, number 40, and then like Daryl Taylor, 52, like a 4-man front, and then Kobe Bryant playing as the nickel. So you see a lot of nickel anyway, which you guys are all kind of used to in Seattle. They were playing a bunch of nickel when they're 4-3. They played a bunch of nickel when they're 3-4. You got to just kind of match personnel, in that way. I do think where the 4-3 could be effective is if they run a 4-3, which means 4 down linemen and then 3 basically like inside linebackers, kind of. You still have a strong side guy in that scheme. You're asking your D linemen to kind of be like more of attackers, kind of go upfield a little bit more and bring the fight to them. Whereas when you have a 3-4, you get someone like Al Woods, you'll see him like he won't run right at the O lineman or whatever. He'll like stand his guy up, see which way the play is developing, and then follow the gap accordingly. That's called 2-gapping. Or in some schemes, it's like having 1 gap and a half a gap, like 1.5 gap or whatever. Whereas 4-3, you're just shooting right through. You're being more of an aggressive attacking front, which is fine. You just need guys who can get home. And I don't really think switching to that is the answer, especially since they're already doing some of that stuff anyway with their nickel packages as is, and they're still not getting there. So I think that's an option. At least in some situations, they're already doing a little bit of it, but I don't think it'll fix their issues, especially since switching to a 4-3 won't fix the run defense unless they play a bunch of cover 3, which would then leave their corners on islands, and then we're right back at square one.
This one's from Tony K, Karate K84. Is D and Sidney Jones on the coach's bad side, or are they really worse in the eyes of Pete than Godwin and Mike Jackson?
2 different cases, I think.
Good.
I don't know why.
Goodness. Keep saying Godwin.
I knew what you meant, but yeah, I don't know why Sidney was inactive today. That was weird. I don't even think that's about being better than Michael Jackson as much as that be about being better than Isaiah Dunn. Like that's a weird one to me. I'd have to do a little bit more digging on that. I obviously wasn't worried about it after the game today because it was relatively inconsequential decision in the grand scheme. The D thing, man, I don't even see the value. I don't see the value in not playing him more. I really don't. He can't possibly not know what's going on. He just can't. That's impossible. Like, D's smart cat. He can know what's going on. And to only play him, I don't know how many snaps he played. Probably wasn't a lot. I know he didn't get any targets. Geno threw the ball to how many guys today?
Marquise Goodwin. He threw it to Will Dissly. He threw it to Kobe. Threw it to DK. Threw it to Lockett. Threw it to, who am I missing? Rashad Penny, I believe, once.
Yeah, he had 10 different guys catch the ball
Walker.
today. So of the 10 guys who caught a ball today, D was not one of them. D was not even targeted. Like that, come on. What are we doing here? So I think that that's one that's just not adding up to me. I don't think it's a doghouse thing. It could be, but I doubt it, man. I think they just think other dudes are better, which, sure, football's a meritocracy in that way. But the decision to invest so much there is troubling. It's very, very, very troubling. If something like unforeseen, like with Daryl Taylor when he got hurt, when it had the leg injury, didn't play his rookie year, it's like, all right, kind of whatever. D gets the concussion, so it's not the same, but like the fact that he's not playing is, I don't think it's a doghouse thing. I honestly haven't asked around a lot, but yeah, that's rough. Not that I think it'll change much. I won't turn the offense around or anything, but that is a problem. And yeah, I don't even know what to do about it because it's not like there's a lot more targets to go around. What did Marquise Goodwin get today?
He must have had at least 4 targets and I think 3 catches.
4 targets, 2 catches for 31 yards.
Yeah.
And I think he dropped one over the middle. So yeah, it's really unfortunate that their 2021 draft class just does not look strong. And then that's with the picks that they've had. Then you factor in the other stuff that they used in that draft. So they had no first round pick because of the Jamal trade, no third round pick because of the Jamal trade, no fifth round pick because of the Gabe Jackson trade. And I don't think they had a 6th round pick because of the Stephon Sullivan trade or something. So they really just left them with Trey Brown, Stone Forsythe, and D, and they're not getting anything from any of those guys in year 2. Like, that draft looks pretty bad.
You know why I put my hands on my face? Because the Seahawks play someone who takes these things personally. And you know where Amon-Ra St. Brown was drafted? You know where he went, Mike? Do you remember last year?
4th round?
Yes. You know what round D went in?
2nd round.
So, I'm sure you've seen all the quotes where Amon's been, looking at all the receivers that he's playing against, and he's like, oh, he wasn't making many plays. I guarantee you he's going to have something to say about D. Eskridge because he was taken higher, and the Seahawks had the opportunity to take this guy. And you know what they did? Didn't take him. Just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, that could be. I don't think Amon-Ra will probably be off that every week, but yeah, this next week.
Well, Mike, in this scenario, he might, bro.
Here's the thing. He's already played the Seahawks, so I think
that's true.
So he's already played them.
But he's even better this year, though.
I mean, he went off in that game. So
he did.
If he didn't say it last time, I don't think he'll have anything to say about it too much unless prompted, and I won't be in his press conference to do that. I don't think it's really worth my time. But yeah, he's already played the Seahawks. He went off against the Seahawks. Maybe he does it if he goes off and they win. He couldn't do it last year because they lost and gave up like 50. So there's that. But yeah, that's like a little tiny subplot that maybe I could write about with our Detroit Rider next week.
This one's from Brian Alvarez. What is going on with Darrell Taylor? He seems like an actual liability on the defense. Yeah, that's in terms of the individual performances on defense, that's probably the most surprising because I thought Darrell was going to be – I thought this defense fit his skill set. He was doing some of the outside linebacker stuff at Tennessee. Not some. That's what he was doing. And in 2021, he was playing like outside backer, which fits it. He's decent in space usually. Can rush the passer, which you even saw today. He had a strip sack today. He can get to the passer. He just has not been good. It looks like he's almost been too aggressive, in some instances, and he looks a little like half a step slow on some certain plays. It's not like every play. It's just like here or there, like what could be a big stop ends up being like a big play, and Darrell is in the middle of it. Again, it's not a ton, but like against the Niners, it was the 50-yard run by Debo. Darrell has him dead. Boom. Debo breaks it. Now it's huge. Today, I think it was some like third string running back came off like on a jet sweep or something. Darrell's right there. Dude blows right by him and then picks up like whatever yard right before the drone thing happened in the fourth quarter. It's stuff like that. Or even some of the third down snaps they're getting where Darrell's not getting home or getting a lot of pressure, QB hits or anything. You're just not feeling him. And I don't have a good explanation for it. It's not anything that he's really talked about. I haven't really asked him a ton. Clint Hurt's not going to go into too much detail, at least not as the defensive coordinator. He's probably learned that there's not much benefit of like calling the dude out publicly. You might as well just go behind the scenes and cuss him out, show him the film and ask him to get better or demand that he gets better. But yeah, that is a concerning thing 2 to 3 weeks. It's a long season, so who knows? Maybe Darrell picks it up. But yeah, of the individual performances on both sides of the ball, to be honest, that one is like, whoa, this is a pretty big deal because he's one of the dudes that they were counting on to be great. And that is not, the impact plays are just not there in the run game or the passing game through 3 weeks. This one is from Kong 90. we're just gonna do the offensive part because we already answered the defensive portion of it. How much of the offensive problems are growing pains versus the coaching staff not getting it done?
I'm not sure. In terms of in-game with the coaching staff, I think they're fine there. I actually thought Shane Waldron called a good game today, by the way. Generally speaking, where I am on Shane is at least through how many games does he coach now? Like 20, I would say. Yeah, 3 plus 17 last year. Yeah, 20 regular season games. I'm almost at the same place with him as I am with Ken Norton, although I'm a little higher on Shane than I was Ken, is that he's fine. Like, it's nothing that I'm just going, oh, wow, this keeps going. Someone's about to hire this cat away. I don't really feel like that. I felt like that was shoddy a little bit. Don't really feel like that. Like today, I actually thought he was really sharp today. Like there was some stuff. He was doing a good job today of using the same personnel package, but in different ways. Like today, for example, he had a couple snaps where it was 21 personnel. That's 2 running backs, 1 tight end. But instead of a fullback, which is usually how you run that, like how the Niners use Juszczyk and whoever, they were using Ken Walker and Rashad Penny. Rashad was getting his runs. Ken got the big 21-yarder off the little fly sweep action. They had a 12 personnel. That's one running back, 2 tight ends. They had that, but instead of, it was 11 personnel. That's 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. Usually the running back's in the backfield next to the quarterback. Nope. Rashad Penny was out wide with Tyler in the backfield. Boom, he ran a little choice route or whatever it was. Tyler catches it. Like he was mixing it up a little bit. The 4th down call to get Marquise Goodwin on the over route against Casey Hayward. Good call. Like I thought Shane was doing a decent job. The problem not really the offensive coaching staff in the games. I don't think there's some calls I don't like. We talked about their trick play to DJ Dallas last week. That was awful. But by and large, I think Shane's been just fine. He's fine. I think the receivers are fine. The tight ends are fine. Staff seems to be fine. But when you have a really young team and a quarterback on what amounts to a veteran minimum contract, fine, might have you losing by 4 to the Falcons. And when you play a team with a championship caliber defense like the Niners, you might get your ass kicked. So I think I don't have too many criticisms of the offensive staff. I don't think like, oh, you got to get so-and-so out of here. I just think that no one's doing anything to like blow me away, which is okay. I don't need to be blown away, but I mean, when you're losing, when you're not putting up points, obviously you want somebody to be doing something better, but like, I'm not really sure what else they can get going other than generating some explosive plays down the field, which is tough with the way they're being covered.
Yeah. This one's from Corey. It's actually a little bit of pushback on your shots, on your thoughts on Shane Waldron. It's cliche, but at what point do we look at Shane and think maybe he's not the answer at offensive coordinator? Even with Russ, this team barely put up points unless the defense the Seahawks were playing was awful.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes to what I'm saying in that I agree. I don't know if like Shane's the answer, but I also don't think he's the problem. Does that make sense? Because I said it real slow like Jada Pinkett does at the Red Table Talks. So it sounded fire in my head, but I don't know if it came out the right way. Did that make sense? Yeah, so you know who also does that is the Emmanuel Acho guy. He says something slow like that. He says something slow like that, and then he delivers it, and then you think like, wow, he just dropped a haymaker. And then you listen to it back and be like, that motherfucker didn't say anything. So I didn't do that just there, did I? Like when I say Shane's he may not be the answer, but I don't think he's the problem either.
I think you're basically alluding to the fact that it's still a work in progress. He hasn't shown enough to say he's not the answer, but he also is doing things that says, you know what? I see what he's doing. If that makes sense. If I'm interpreting what you're trying to explain, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's a work in progress thing though, as much as just like it's fine. It's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. You ever go somewhere to eat and it's like, someone asks you how it was, whether it's the chef or someone who recommended the restaurant, you're like, oh, it was cool. It was fine. Like I ain't about to go back, but like I didn't come home and throw up. You know what I mean? Like it was fine. I ate, I'm full, I went home. You know, like that's kind of the my thought, at least for now, which is I mean, dude's what he's called 20 games ever, which is not like a super huge sample size, but it's decent enough, you know, with multiple quarterbacks in that span. So yeah, I think he's fine. He ain't the problem. Put it that way.
This one is from Nick's Red. Do you think the defense can turn around as it has in the past few seasons?
No, not without like someone. I would say you would need one or two. Actually, okay, here. Yes. Here's how. I think it's unlikely, but the scenario would be two people in particular start playing out of their minds.
I think I know where you're going with this one.
Jordan and Daryl. Those would be in particular. I'm not talking about like just start playing better. I'm talking about like, oh, the Seahawks have 2 Pro Bowlers this year, Jordan Brooks and Daryl Taylor. You know, like, and that's not impossible. That's sure, that's doable, I guess. I just probably see it as unlikely that they both pull that off. But yeah, that's the scenario. Is you get 2 young, because those dudes fit what you would think would be a good like foundation. They are both really good athletes. Actually very good in space. They're both very strong for their sizes as well. Like Daryl is actually very strong and super athletic. And they fit the scheme, you know, pretty well. And it's just not generating many impact plays. You know, on Jordan's part, that's the issue. Where on Daryl's is just like it's not really generating much of anything. The coaches have been saying that publicly, privately. So yeah, I think that would be the scenario in particular. I would say the young guys could develop, Kobe and Tariq, but I'm just talking about those two. If those two are like playing out of their minds, then I think you'll get something. But right now, you're looking at the team. Whoever leads this team in sacks will do so with like 5, and that's a problem. That's like 2019 when Rasheem Green led them and had like 4.
I think it was 4.5. Yeah.
We're on that type of pace right now, and that's not good.
This one's from Ryan Turner at Turns 44. I think a good percentage of fans expected more out of the defense on Sunday, but perhaps they're young and inexperienced. Got to think this rebuild is going to take longer than Pete Carroll has as a coach. What record would it take for Pete to step away?
For him to step away.
Yeah.
That's a good way to phrase that. Probably like 4-13 or something like that. Maybe 5-12, something like that. Which is certainly possible because of the issues that they have on defense. They're just too reliant on getting turnovers, man. Like without turnovers, these guys are
not getting any, Mike.
Yeah, they're like 12th, I think, in percentage of drives that end in a turnover, which is pretty good. But for the most part, they just can't. Without those, they cannot get off the field, man. You know, today was their first 3-and-out of the season.
Oh yeah. I when I heard that, I said, "Wow!" And there you go. That says it all.
Yeah, that's really bad. And that was their only one today.
Yeah,
and that means in 3 games they forced a 3-and-out 1 time.
That's embarrassing.
It's really hard for them to get off the field. I think the stat is right now 52% of their defensive drives end with the other team scoring points. That's the second worst in the league. The Cardinals are the only team worse, and the Cardinals are like 57% or something like that. So like they just cannot get off the field, man. And I think that's just too hard to overcome. So yeah, if that continues and ends up like 4-13 or something, 5-12, I don't even think it matters if the losses are close. At that point, then you might get Pete being like, damn, back-to-back losing seasons. Defense isn't good. Quarterback situation, because that would also mean the quarterback situation isn't working out. That is a situation where I could see like, dude, just Jody giving him the opportunity to just retire instead of being like, dude, you're fired.
At that point, I regret trading you, Russ. You want to come back?
Although the Russ situation in Denver, we're not gonna spend no time.
It ain't looking better.
Yeah, it ain't looking much better. Their defense is just better than Seattle defense. You know, Denver's defense is legitimately like one of the best 3 or 4 defenses in the league.
This one's from Holly. Definitely wouldn't have thought the Hawks would have lost, but here we are. Looking to the future, what areas can you already see the Seahawks need to improve on for next season?
I think that they need to be better with their interior offensive line. I think that's an issue. I don't know if they talked about that much in the broadcast, but like you look at some of the run plays that didn't work, and it's because like Gabe Jackson's in the backfield with Kenneth Walker. Like that's an issue. I think that their defense is just a step behind. You look at some of they're not even in position to make interceptions a lot of the time. Like I think Quandre had 2. And he had one against Denver where he was in position, and one that was like a 4th down throw by Jimmy G, where Quandre kind of dropped that one as well in the end zone. Other than that, though, I'm not seeing many like, oh dang, such almost had that. It's
Mark
Marshall.
Jackson on Sunday though, he was close.
Did Mike?
Yeah, it was. I think Drake literally.
Oh, the pass breakup. Yeah. They both kind of fought for it, which was good. Mike can play, man. He can play. He's just gonna have moments where he gets beat. That's kind of just life as a corner. We talked about that earlier. I think interior offensive line is legit. I mean, the sack that Geno takes on 3rd and 8 before the 4th and 18 or whatever, that's Grady Jarrett beating Austin Blythe right up the middle.
Oh yeah, that was cold.
Yeah,
swim move. There he is.
Damian Lewis with 2 holding calls. That's interior offensive line. Like I said, Gabe Jackson's had his issues. Gabe played really bad against the Niners. Those are your 3 interior offensive linemen. I asked about them last week with Pete, and Pete was like, basically was like, they're not very good. That's what he said. Translation anyway, in Pete speak. So I think that's one area. I think they should look to upgrade the interior pass rush some more. I think Al is good, but Al's 35 or something. So if you're talking about the future, like I think Quentin Jefferson still got it. Like you've seen that on his sack today. He just swam right by dude, dropped Mariota. But like it's just not there. You're not seeing the plays from Puna that I thought we'd see in that regard. Same with Brian Monet. It's really just Quentin Jefferson if you're talking about like interior pressure, which is a problem because that was supposed to be his strength. Those 2 issues in particular, and I think they should keep evaluating linebackers. I think everyone will probably agree with me on that.
Yeah. This one's from Kyle. You pointed out lack of offensive touchdowns after halftime. Is that a statistical fluke or more of a sign that the offense is not making counter adjustments when the defense makes changes at halftime?
I think that so the stat that the person asking the question is referencing is I found that the Seahawks are the only team to play 3 games and not have a second half touchdown on offense. Now, I asked Tyler Lockett about that, and he kind of dismissed it as being like a very specific stat, like, how ESPN Stats and Info pull something out their ass and be like, this is the 18th time this team has lost on a day of the week that ends in Y or something like that. And you'd be like, what the hell? Where you get that? I think it's actually pretty relevant that they're the only team. That's the thing about being the only team. That's why I use that stat. They're the only team to not score an offensive touchdown in the second half. That's really hard to do. They've had how many possessions in that time? Probably like 11. 11 second half possessions or something like that, which again isn't a ton, but it's probably relative to how many everyone else has. Like, put it this way: if you can't score a touchdown in the second half, you're not gonna win any games. They got lucky against the Broncos in that regard because the Broncos missed a field goal that probably would have won them the game, or not probably, that would have won them the game. Like that's tough. I think that, man, it's not a fluke. It's a very specific stat, but it's not a fluke. I think it's a product of what I talked about earlier, needing to be right so many times and not getting a chunk play that makes the difference. Like, I agree with taking what the defense gives you, but if that's all you ever take, it's going to be very hard. And I think that some of their plays, their offensive plays have been living like within the margins of like the ball sails 1 foot one way or the other and it's a big play or a turnover. Like today, there was some turnover worthy plays. So there was some that Geno could have easily had picked. And there were some that could have been, touchdowns. And I think that when you're getting either like a blown coverage thing or like a narrow, play here or there, and those don't happen in the second half, like those are hard to rely on. That's what I'm saying. That's the short version of that. That's tough, man. That's really tough. So it's not a fluke, and I don't think it has to do with adjustments. Here's the thing on adjustments, real quick, for the next question. Halftime ain't that long. Like, the guys run in, you see who's hurt. Maybe you change your tape. You use the bathroom. The coaches meet up for a few minutes. They first have to get down there from the press box. Like, you ain't in there changing the whole damn game plan. You make some adjustments, but it ain't like a ton. Halftime's what, 12 minutes, something like that. Yeah, it's very short in the regular season. Super Bowl and playoffs is a little longer because they have performances and shit. But yeah, so you're not doing a ton of adjustments, and I don't think that's the issue. I just think that their offense in general is not like super great, and in the second half, it's just shown how like super not great it is. They're just really good at completing passes. That's kind of it. And I don't think that's a fluke either. You go read Pete Carroll's book and you see that that's what he believes needs to be done from the quarterback. Throw a catchable ball. That's what he wants from the quarterback, among other things, but that's a key. Throw a catchable ball. You know what Geno does? Throw a catchable ball. You know what that's not resulting in? Points. Because there needs to be more.
This one is from Tough Guy Football. 3 games in, and it looks like DK hasn't made a meaningful step toward being a true number 1 game record elite wide receiver. Why can't he be consistent like Tyler?
Well, they're asking 2 different things to Tyler and DK. If you notice, Tyler is catching a bunch of underneath stuff, a lot of quick stuff, possession receiver, whereas DK stuff is A, a little more difficult, and B, being covered by further downfield for one. So actually, no, let me start that over. It's DK stuff is tougher. It's further downfield, and he's usually being guarded by better players. Geno talked about that today. Teams play zone against us. Well, Tyler's getting matched up on guys underneath. Those be linebackers and stuff. Easier for him to get open. DK is being shadowed by AJ Terrell. Not to say that DK can't win against AJ Terrell, but you guys saw AJ.
Yeah.
AJ was real. AJ had like 3 PBUs today.
Yeah.
All on plays targeting DK. So like he's legit, and you're getting that every week. Patrick Surtain 1 week, Emmanuel Mosley 1 week, AJ Terrell this week. I don't know who the Lions guy is in that regard. I don't know if they have one, but like it's gonna be that. So it's a little harder now. To the question asker's point. All right, we just get this guy $24 million a year. I don't care who he's being guarded by. Get it to him. But that goes back to what I'm saying before. Is one thing to take what the defense gives you. Eventually, you got to start taking more shots to kind of create those kill shots. If you don't, you're basically relying on underneath stuff and then taking 1 or 2 deep ones to DK. Although today I did like that they were just forcing it to him.
Yes.
Like I do like that, but some of that stuff's going to be very, very tough. And did DK have a drop today? Like some of the stuff today that hit his hands that he didn't catch, that all got tipped.
Yeah, dude. You know what he has to do? He has to get a jugs machine and have coaches tip the ball and just work on catching tip passes, because he's gonna have a lot of those this year, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've never seen anyone work on that. That is.
I don't know how you would, but that's something you could work on. Just tip balls, and you got to keep your focus and try to catch it. That way in games, you're ready for it. Because to Geno's point of people doubling him, he's going to have a lot of opportunities, and there's going to come with tip passes. And if he's been practicing, he might become just the best tip pass catcher ever, if that even makes sense.
I do think they do some better jobs scheming up some easier stuff from him, because I think that, like, you look at some of the other guys who have had great, like, really crazy statistical seasons, stuff is schemed up pretty easy for them. Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams had a ton of stuff schemed up for him. Cooper Kupp has a million things schemed up for him. Who is Justin Jefferson? They use him in some different ways. I think they got to use DK in some different ways, scheme him up. They're doing a decent job. You just got to be better, because obviously you're not scoring any points. So
I got one thing to do. Start putting him in motion again. I haven't seen too much of that.
Yeah, they used to do that quite a bit. Shotty did that.
Yeah, 2 years ago, Shotty. I on everything. We did a pod about saying what they can do for DK. That next Sunday, that man was moving all over the place. I said, are they watching the tape of this? Because we literally talked about it for 60 minutes. Hey, this is what you guys can do to get DK involved. And I swear to you, that next week, DK was moving, checking to see what the defense is playing. They had him all over the field. And now it's back to, just line up over there. All right, cool. Maybe Geno checks down, notice that there's a blitz coming, cool. But other than that, he's not moving much.
Yeah, he's lined up in different spots, but yeah, not pre-snap moving a lot. And then what happens when he's moving to the middle? They don't have to put their best corner on him because then you can just like put a linebacker
the middle.
Yeah, and then safety. It's tough. Like Gino says this after the game. He's like, yeah, they're making it hard on us. Like, but that's going to open it up for other guys, and he's not wrong about that. 9 other dudes caught a ball today. You know, that is relevant, but you know, you can only play decoy so much. Eventually, I want you to catch the ball.
Got 2 more, Mike. This one's from Cameron Ferguson. In a season with Gino, if we have 6 or 7 competitive losses as the one on Sunday against the Falcons, are the Seahawks still good enough to get a top available quarterback? And then the second part is, in that scenario, does Pete make it to the next guy? And I guess there's 3. And how would the locker room be if they do win 4 or 5 games?
The first part of the question, the answer is yes. They could be in the running for a top quarterback if you go like 5-12 or something like that with a bunch of close losses. Would Pete survive that? That's the answer to that is probably no, because losing is wins and losses are a large part of how a coach is judged, especially if you're coming like if you were doing the winning before. It's like, damn, Campbell wins 5 games this year. It'll probably look like progress because I don't know how many they won last year. It probably wasn't 5.
2.
Yeah, so if he wins 5, or if Doug Peterson in Jacksonville wins 5, then it'll look like progress. You know what I mean? But if like Sean McVay wins 5, you know, or Pete wins 5, or Mike Tomlin, that's regression. John Harbaugh, those guys win 5, they're going the wrong way. So I think that would be tough for Pete to survive. The last part of that locker room, it would be in shambles. Like I don't think. Because like what the guys are saying right now in the locker room is a lot of games to play. It's only week 3. We'll figure it out. Stuff to clean up, and that makes sense. I'm like, they're right. Like Jordan said today, he said it today, and it didn't really hit me until I left. It was like he was like, yeah, we got 14 games left, and in my head I was like, damn, that is a lot of games left. But eventually that number drops. What happens if they lose next week? It's like, we got 13 games left. Well, okay,
They're 1-3.
2 games later, wow, we got 11 games left. Okay, man, like eventually that like stops being the thing you say. I remember in 2020 after week 6 when they lost to the Cardinals. I think we asked Clint Hurd about this when we had him on the show too. Like that's when Bobby was like, ain't nothing else to say, man. Guys just got to decide they want to play better. That's it. You know, so that eventually they get to that point. So if you're in January and you're at loss number 12 or something for the year, you know, I think the locker room be in shambles by Christmas, you know, if not sooner. And if it doesn't matter if the losses are close, they're losing. The locker room's a totally different vibe when they lose, man. Tell the truth, Monday is a lot harder, you know, like it's tough. The locker room will be in shambles if they were to lose double-digit games again this year.
Last one. This is from Bob. Worst loss: Cougs, Mariners, or Hawks?
Jesus Christ! What kind of lead did the Mariners blow? Because I kind of want to go with them.
It was 9-2. Might have been 11-2. Got to double check that. I know they were up by more than 7 runs. I know that for a fact.
Oh my God! I didn't. I knew they lost, but I didn't. And I saw that a lot of runs were scored, but I didn't know the severity of it.
So yeah, I'm looking now, Mike. It was 8-1. It was 10-2 going in. It was 9-2 going into the 6th inning.
So they were up 7 runs at one point. They blew a 9-2.
Yep.
And, they were up 11-2.
Oh, it was 11. Okay. Well,
yeah,
hey,
they're up 11-2. So they blew a 9-run lead. Jesus,
even
Christ.
worse.
That's the worst. I don't want to talk about what the Cougs did, but it was bad. But I'm not going to rehash it. Seahawks today, they didn't blow a big lead, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, that one, that's the Mariners. That's pretty rough. That's pretty bad. I'll go with them because I don't want to talk about the Cougs. It's a good question. It's a fair question, but yeah.
Well, that's the Twitter questions. By the way, shout out to me. I'm 1-0 in predictions. I picked the Falcons to win, and boy, did they do that. So we'll see how.
You didn't make predictions any other weeks?
No, remember because 2 weeks ago when we had Matt Barrows, we just had him do the prediction. We switched it up.
But you did. You picked the. Didn't you pick the Broncos? They're on our live podcast.
I didn't. Technically, but you didn't make a pick, so that's irrelevant. We all made a pick this time.
I did. I picked the Broncos too. I picked the Broncos.
You sure?
Yeah, I picked them.
I can't run the tape back, so I gotta take your word.
Well, no, I know. I think I wrote that prediction somewhere. You know, I do our expert picks for the Athletic every week, and they track our records anyway. So all my picks are documented somewhere. Even I don't always pick a score for those, but I do make a pick. I think.
So your pick was the same on the Athletics this week.
Yeah. I think I don't know what I am for this. I think I picked the Falcons. I have to go back.
No, you didn't. You picked the Seahawks. You and Josh went with the Seahawks. I'm the lone man here that went with the Falcons. It's okay.
I don't know what my pick was in our expert picks though.
You forgot what that was. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
because
gotcha.
I just kind of fill that out on my phone, just not
During the
paying attention. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Somebody said in our little chat today, they was like, "Yeah, we're stretching the definition of the word expert here with some of these picks." No, and I agree. Like, I'm not like a total expert. Let me see. I'm pulling it up right now to see what I picked. I picked, I picked the Seahawks. Damn. So I think I am. What did I pick last week? I might be 0-3. I might be terrible.
Well, the thing, so on there, okay, got you. Yeah. Well, I can't help you there if you're 0-3 on that. Tough love, man.
I'm looking to see what I picked for our expert picks on the Niners game. I picked.
You probably picked the Niners.
Seahawks.
Sheesh. Hey, stop making picks, man.
Yeah, I'm 0-3. I'm 0-3. Picking the. I'm taking the Lions this week though. Spoiler. So maybe.
He made that very clear. By the way, the Lions are a 6.5 favorite as we speak.
I take the Seahawks to cover though. Definitely take the Seahawks to cover. Never gamble though, folks. Anyway, that is the Seahawks Man to Man podcast. My name is Michael-Shawn and Christopher. That's my co-host, Christopher Kidd. Thank you guys for tuning in on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on The Athletic, everywhere you get your podcast. Shout out to our YouTube subscribers as well. We're coming to you this week with a midweek episode previewing the Lions matchup. We're also going to spend some time talking about what's wrong with the Seahawks on there too. We'll blend those together, I promise. We don't want to get a whole hour talking about the Lions when the Seahawks sticking up the joint on both sides of the ball in certain aspects. So keep on the lookout for that. That'll drop this week. Until then, Chris and I are out, and we will see you later.